this edition of Neat Unfiltered with me, Kenyon Martin, and basketballnews.com, presented by only the best vodka, Grey Goose. We have an actor, producer, director, and the star of one of my favorite TV shows, Into the Badlands. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Daniel Wu.
What's
up? What up, sir?
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me.
Of course. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I didn't think we'll get back to this. I'm saying when we talked before, it was in the making and kept you in mind, man. And I really wanted to sit down and have a conversation with you, man. It was
much appreciated. And now since you've seen the show, right? Like when we first met, I think you just watched one episode.
I was just now getting into it. And I've watched it again since. So,
for real? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man. I like it. Like I said, from the first scene Into the Badlands, man, and y'all, you had me hooked. On the side of the road, it's like, let's get it.
it was an interesting show because a lot of people slept on it when it was out, but then the people who've seen it like got addicted to it, like you, and just watched it all the way through. So I'm glad it's still existing on Netflix now, so that people can watch it.
And it's definitely like one of those, like you binge watch, like you know you got something to do in the morning and you can't fucking turn the TV off. Like it's like one of them situations. I was like, I know I got to get up early, but hey, oh well, I'll deal with it tomorrow.
We got I think by season 2 and 3, it got real good story wise, right? Like the action was always there, right? But the story wise gets really gripping in second and third season, and you can't turn it off. Like you just keep rolling.
You gotta keep it going because you want to see what's happening next.
Yeah,
like I wanted to see, like each time, like I'm like, is Sonny gonna die? Is he gonna die for real this time?
Right.
Like, yeah. So now it was.
Who were some of your favorite characters?
Baji.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like from every scene, man, it's just like you think he counted out, and he bounced back, and it's just his humor. His underlying humor, like just his jokes and things like that, man. I was all in. Like I
was also impressed with the way he can move, you know?
Yeah, he can move for a big guy. I'm saying he can move.
He's like a Charles Barkley, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
What's he gonna do? But he can move. And that was really impressive with him. It's like, you know, he's funny, he's a good actor, but he can also move. Like it's unexpected when it's someone that big, you know, can move that way.
No doubt. Well, before Into the Badlands, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Both of your parents were professors.
My mom was a professor. My dad was an engineer.
Your dad was an engineer. Okay, sorry about that. And you're born and raised in California, and your parents were they migrated with the immigrants from Shanghai.
That's right. They both came from Shanghai and then ended up in New York, and they met each other in New York actually.
Okay.
And they got married after meeting each other for 3 months. They got married there, and then came out to California, and that's where they had my sisters and me.
But you grew up in, I don't want to mispronounce it,
Orinda.
But you were born in Berkeley and pronounce it again for me?
Orinda.
Okay.
So it's the next town over from Berkeley. And then the next town over from that is Moraga, which is where St. Mary's College was.
Gotcha. Okay.
My mom taught it.
All right. Yeah, that's what's up, man. Yeah, you know, I live in California right now, but I'm not a Californian. So some of these small cities and towns are a little foreign to me. You know, like I hear people talking and I like, what's the closest big city?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Right. You from the Bay Area.
That's right.
Like
the Bay is
giving me all these little cities and towns. I'm like, what is it? Like you live in the Bay, you live in Southern California, Northern California. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. It's big. It's a big state too.
Yeah, it's huge state. Yeah, so with both of your parents being like your dad, like you said, being an engineer, your mom being a professor, and eventually you going to school for architect, correct?
Yeah, I actually wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a fine artist, but I knew with Chinese parents, they're gonna never let me study that because with Chinese parents, they want you to study something that makes money, right?
Yeah. So that was hitting into I was leading into that. So when you did that and then it became acting from that, like, was it like was that the way you snuck it in? Like, this is what I want to do, or?
Here's how it was. It's like, I finished architecture school. I studied 5 years, got my degree. And then at that point I was like, okay, I did everything you guys wanted me to do. So I'm going to go pursue what I need to do. right? And so I gave myself like a couple of years. I said, if something doesn't happen in this couple of years, then I'll go back and get a job in architecture. But I knew I wasn't going to head into the profession of architecture, because during school I did internships in the summertime, and school was cool. I really liked it a lot because it was really creative. But then the work environment wasn't that. It was maybe 2%, 5% creative, and there was a lot of administrative and managing projects and stuff like that. And I was like, that's not what I liked the most about school. I liked about that creative energy, right?
No doubt.
So in '97, I graduated, and I said, okay, I'm going to go to Hong Kong for like a graduation trip. I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And I gave myself a couple months there. And the reason why I chose Hong Kong is because Hong Kong was going back to China. It was previously a British colony, so there was the handover party. There was a big event, so I wanted to witness that, because as Americans, we don't get to witness a lot of historical events. So I wanted to see that. And then I traveled around Asia for like a couple months, and then this director so I was near the end of my trip. I ran out of money. I only had like $4,000 to spend for the 2 or 3 months of traveling, right? And then
so
at
you
the
started
end
getting your model on, right?
Yeah, so I was doing some like part-time modeling. That's right. And kicking it around. And also I wanted to see if, there was a possibility to get into the business there,
Gotcha.
Because I knew, as being a Chinese American, it would be harder to do it in the United States. Because at that time in the 90s, like I never saw any Asians on TV. There was Bruce Lee, and then there's a big gap with nothing, right?
Yeah.
Jackie Chan came back out, but these were not Americans, right? And so I said, okay, let me check out Hong Kong, see if there's an opportunity for me there. And so I started modeling, and then 3 months in, I was low on money, and I was in a bar, and some girl comes up to me and asked me if I want to be in a TV commercial. And I was like, okay, if it pays. And she's like, yeah, it pays about $4,000. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll do that. So I did it. And then a month later it came out. And then after it came out, a director saw it and called me into his office for an interview. And I went in, chatted with him for about an hour, didn't even audition. I just walked out of there. And then I never had any acting experience or anything like that, right? And then an hour later, he calls me up and he goes, yo, I want you to be the lead in my movie. I was like, what? As a lead in your movie? I'm like, I could play a small part, but a lead, I've never done any acting before. Plus, I didn't speak Cantonese fluently at the time. Yeah. So it's a different dialect than what I grew up speaking. Yeah, and so I was like, I don't think I can do that. The language, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah. So I actually turned it down because I didn't have a grasp of the language. I never acted before. And you trying to act in a language you don't know is like super hard, right? And I took some film classes in school, and I was like, I knew that making a movie is not fun and game. This is like hard work. Yeah. It's someone's creative dream that they're putting out there. And so I was like, I don't want to fuck this up for you. Like I don't want to be the reason why this movie fails, right? So I don't think you should hire me. So I actually turned it down. And then for like a month, he kept calling me. And at the end of it, I was like, all right, if you think I can do it, that's cool, but I can't have any pressure while I'm doing this, because I don't want to. And also, if I fuck it up, you can't blame me.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, listen, hey,
you're the one that
get a little leeway here now. Damn it.
Right. So I went into it like that, going, okay, let's see what happens. And then, my parents, going back to that, my dad was not happy. My mom was cool because she taught college and she'd been around a lot of young people. So she was a college counselor and all those kind of things. And so she was cool with it because she goes, look, you can always fall back on architecture. You have that degree, but when are you ever going to get an opportunity to be in a movie, much less a lead role?
A lead role in the movie for your first movie.
Exactly, right. So she's like, I think you should give it a shot. But my dad was not cool with it. He was like, you went to school for 5 years.
Even though it was paying, he wasn't cool with it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think he thought movie making was like just fooling around. You know? I just wanted to do it to get girls and shit like that. Right? But that's a small reason, but
small part of it. Yeah, of course.
It's like why you play ball, like this is
definitely small part of it.
But it wasn't until like 2 or 3 years later that he came out to Hong Kong and he visited set and he watched me film for like 12-hour day, and then he realized like, oh, you actually work hard. And he pat me on the shoulder the day. He's like, okay, I'm proud of you. So I'm like, okay, cool. Got his blessing. So it took a while. But and I think also it helped that, my name started to show up in like the newspapers, Chinese newspapers and stuff. So they were reading about me from abroad and stuff. And so they realized I was not just messing around. I was taking it seriously.
Okay, so was it just the acting part, or was martial arts always a part of what you wanted to do, or you just
So,
wanted to be an actor and then that fell into your lap, like,
so
or were you practicing martial arts and then
it's kind
hyper
of interesting. So I
simultaneously?
got into martial arts because of movies. Because
Yeah.
when I was growing up, the only people I saw of my race on TV was like Bruce Lee, Jet
Hmm.
Li, Jackie Chan, people like that. And so I was like, maybe this is a connection to my culture, right? And so I started learning martial arts, kung fu, as a way to sort of have a bridge to my culture in some ways. And I didn't want to learn karate, taekwondo, or jujitsu because those are other cultures, right? I wanted to learn more about my
Yeah.
culture through the martial arts. So I did that, and I had a master that he was not only a kung fu teacher, but he was also a Chinese medicine doctor. So he knew about herbs and acupuncture. He was a lawyer. He was a brush painter. He just knew a lot of stuff
Oh, he
about
was
a lot of
jacked.
things. Yeah, yeah, like a true Renaissance man.
Definitely.
And so that was inspiring because I learned a lot, and I learned to be proud of my culture. I think my sisters, who are 10 and 12 years older than me, they grew up in like the early 80s.
Yeah.
They tried to assimilate to the culture, right? And so they don't even really speak Chinese that well now.
Gotcha.
But for me, I was like reaching for something that was my culture, out there, and then that ended up being it. So I got into that, and then once I got into the business, so I did that, my whole life. In college, I started a team at the University of Oregon because we didn't have Chinese martial arts there. There was Taekwondo and Judo and all that. So I wanted to start a Chinese martial arts team. So I started a team. I was teaching that team, was a coach of the team. And then once I went to Hong Kong in the business, I thought maybe I'd have an opportunity to get kicked by Jackie Chan down a flight of stairs. That would be my movie career, And like, I'm good with that. I'll be good with that because, he was my idol. But once I got the opportunity to become an actor, someone told me it was like, or actually, Jackie Chan ended up becoming my manager because after I got that offer, a week later, I met Jackie Chan at a party. And a friend of mine who was an actress, she was like, "Oh, you're a big fan of his. Like, come over and see him." And I was like, "No, I'm cool. I'll watch him from here." Because, sometimes you don't want to meet your idol, right? You meet your idol and it turns out like, oh, he's a dick, right? Or he says some shit. It's like, or he brush you off, and then you're like, oh, damn, like I idolized this dude for like how many years, and then you just brush me off. So
it's like some Eminem Stan type of thing, like Eminem and Stan kind of shit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly like that. So I was like, no, I don't want to meet him. But then she dragged me over there, and I met him, and she's like, oh, this is my friend. He's been doing some modeling work, and he's a good martial artist. And he's like, oh, really? And then he asked me for within 30 seconds, he looked me up and down. He's like, what's your phone number? So I gave him my phone number. I didn't know what was going on, right? Because I didn't nothing. I wasn't even trying to get into the business yet. And then that Monday, his management office called me. I went in for a meeting, and they're like, Jackie really likes you. He wants to sign you. But honestly speaking, it's a bad time in the industry. I don't know if we can get you a job. But I'm like, oh, I got the script offer. And they're like, oh, really? Okay, we'll take it over for you. And then they became a manager, right?
Yeah.
So, but I was
for a small fee. For a small fee. I said for a small fee.
For a cut. But hey, I didn't know nothing. Like I didn't know any other place. I'd know like Jackie Chan. Okay, his management company sounds good. So I kind of just fell into like the right path. And then he had said many times to me, he's like, I wish I could do other kinds of movies, but people only want to see me fight, right? He's like, I wish I could do an acting movie, a full drama movie, a gangster movie or whatever, but people don't want to see me as that. He's like, you have an opportunity to be more than that, right? He's like, so if you're doing other movies that are not action, that's cool. And so I kind of hid the fact that I knew martial arts for a little while, for like 5 or 6 years. And then later I kind of slowly let it out, because if you get cornered just doing action, that's all you're going to do for the rest of your life,
Yeah, that's just like the big, the black guy early on. He had to play a certain kind of role in movies.
Yeah,
he was only getting certain kind of roles, and that's what it was. And so I get it. So I was going to ask you that. Did you feel that you were being stereotyped in a way? You know what I'm saying? Like for those roles, like why people thought that you should do the martial artist role and things like that. And that's one of the reasons that you hit it.
I think that happens more here now after Into the Badlands, right? Like I've been offered a bunch of martial arts things, but I kind of turned it down because I was like, if I do this, that's all America is going to think of me, right? Is just martial arts. Whereas like in my Hong Kong career of like 20 years there, I did almost 70 movies, and it's all over the place. I did romantic comedies, I did like crazy dramas, I did action movies, I did everything. And so I want to be able to still do that, keep it broad.
Yeah, you ain't want to be Samuel, the loud black guy in every movie. Like if they see you in the movie, oh, it's finna be some action, it's finna be some ass kicking.
Right,
like,
right.
No, you want them to leave some have somebody
you know
guessing.
it's hard because that's what the fans want to see, because they've seen Badlands and they realize like that was cool, but it's like I have other things to offer, so I'm kind of just waiting for the right project to do that.
I think you're a great actor, man. So I think you can do more than that. So don't let people pigeonhole you in that, man.
Yeah,
like I'm glad you realized that early, and you had an idol and somebody who you can look up to tell you that you just don't have to do that. There's other ways around it. There's other ways for you to be a great actor without having just to do martial arts, because he felt like that was his only lane at the time. You know what I'm saying? That's what people that probably saw him as. That's the only thing he could do. So no, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah. And it was really important to have mentors like that. You know, when you're walking into some industry you don't know nothing about, and you have some mentors that can guide you along the way with their experience, like it helps. I mean, same thing, you know, when you're a rookie and you get on the team and you got some vets there that kind of, you know, look out for you, it's important.
Oh yeah, no, I was in the same situation. Like I came in, I was 22, but I had some vets on my team that had been around, they 15, 16, 17 years in. Then I look at the current situation where guys come into the league now, they 19 and they looking up to a 23-year-old. Like how is
they're babies. They come in as babies, right?
Yeah, and then you're looking up to a guy that just got done going through puberty and like his damn self. You know, he can't even run a car yet. Yeah. Like, so it's you gotta have somebody co-sign for him, and those are the guys who you're supposed to look up to. But no, it's the same thing, like having somebody who you can count on, who you can ask questions to, who you can learn how to be professional at the same time. Like that's one thing I learned early in my career is how to be professional. Yeah. Like people can say what they want to about me. Like, oh, he loud mouth, he rambunctious, he cuss, he fight, he do all that, but they can never say I was unprofessional.
Yeah, same with me. That was one of my things too. Like when I started out, I was like, you know, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work harder than everybody else, so nobody can say nothing about it. It's like, yeah, I could have an attitude or this and that, but I'm going to work hard and make sure people know that I work hard, you know.
Although the holiday season will look a bit different, we're still excited to celebrate the good with only the best vodka, Grey Goose. We won't have to focus on lost luggage, flight delays, crowded airports, or holiday traffic. Instead, we can focus on the things we love most about the holidays. And of course, celebrating only the best moment pairs well with only the best vodka, Grey Goose. Visit greygoose.com, and in one click, you can have a Grey Goose Holiday Punch cocktail kit delivered to your door. The Grey Goose Holiday Punch cocktail kit comes with everything you will need to make a holiday punch: Grey Goose vodka, pomegranate juice, sweetened black tea, martini and Rossi Prosecco, and garnishes. Everything you will need to impress your holiday squad. And we won't tell them how easy it was. Cheers! Sip responsibly. Imported by Grey Goose Importing Company, Coral Gables, Florida. Vodka, 40% alcohol by volume, distilled from French wheat. So your first role was a Hong Kong film, like, so the language barrier, let's get there.
Okay, let's go back.
How did you manage the script? Like not being able to read the script and have somebody basically translate it for you, and you had to memorize your lines, if I'm not mistaken?
Right, by sound, really. Because
I grew up. Whoa. You said by who?
By sound, by memorizing by sound, just by listening to the words and then copying it, right? Okay, because like in Chinese, there's so many dialects. There's over 50 dialects, right?
Okay.
And so, for example, like Shanghainese is what my parents grew up speaking, right? Like I grew up speaking that with them. And then Mandarin is like, everybody kind of speaks Mandarin. It's the main dialect. Yeah. And then Cantonese is spoken in Hong Kong and southern China, right?
Yeah.
And Mandarin is probably, when you were in China, you probably hearing that a lot.
That's what,
But then you were in Xinjiang, right?
Yes, I was.
So you probably heard some crazy dialects over there, because there's like a Muslim community there. They speak
definitely, there was some. Yeah, I heard all of it. People was telling me that's riding in the car with different people. 'Cause I had a driver when I was there, so when he would drive me around, he would explain to me where the areas was, who these people was, and like all the things that you were saying. It was dope.
Right. So you know, there's like, it sounds completely different, right? Like it's almost different languages, right? So like Shanghainese to me sounds like Portuguese. Cantonese is like Spanish, and then Mandarin is like Italian. Like they kind of sound alike, but they're very different languages, right?
Yeah, and then my translator, so we over there, like he's Like he spoke Mandarin. Like he was so to peep this. So I had a white guy. He was from like Milwaukee. He's married a black girl he met in on vacation, and they live in China, and both of them speak Mandarin.
Oh, like, that must be a trip.
Yeah, so I'm like, how the fuck y'all get this thing together? Like, how y'all put this equation together? But it was like, we'll be places and I ask John, like, what they say. And he'd be like, shit, I don't know. Like, they speaking another dialect. Like, I don't know. Yeah, so it's true.
It's completely different, right?
Yeah.
So that's what the thing was, like, learning Cantonese for me was hard because I've been exposed to it because I liked watching Hong Kong movies when I was a little kid. And my cousin was from Hong Kong, so I heard it my whole life, but I never spoke it. And it's a different way of using your mouth than Mandarin. You know, Cantonese is spoken more in the front of the mouth, and Mandarin is Mandarin is more in the front of the mouth, and Cantonese is in the back and like more nasally. So you're using completely different muscles. You know what I mean? It's like saying like football and basketball is the same sport. It's not. It's like completely different, you know, fundamentals. So yeah, it was hard, and so. The way I did it for that first movie is I recorded all the lines. I had someone record all the lines on tape. This is back when we had tape cassette recorders, right? And then I would just play that shit back and just play it back and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and play it back and repeat it. And then I ended up writing down like a Romanized version, an English version of what I'm hearing so that I could look at it. You know, Mandarin, there is a English way to write using English letters for Mandarin. But Cantonese, they don't have that system. So I had to kind of make up my own system to do that. So I would just write it down. And to this day now, I still can't read that well. I can only read like 30% of characters. So if it's a Cantonese script, someone got to read it to me and I write the whole thing down in my own kind of form of language. And I use that as the basis of my script, which is it's actually good homework for me because then I absorb the script much better because I have to sit there for like 6 hours and write this thing down, you know. And then for Mandarin, there's like software now that just can spit it out into like a Romanized version. I can read that. You know,
and you can get some people some acting gigs in over in Hong Kong. So if you write your own dialect and all that, you translate in your own language. I'm saying you can get some people some acting jobs, man.
But some people will be looking at it and be like, "What's this?" Like nobody can read it. Only I understand like what it is. So it's complicated.
It's doctor script.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's how I learned it. And I would say it took me a good like 3, 4, 5 years to be fully comfortable with the language. And now I'm actually better in Cantonese and Mandarin. The main thing is like just pushing yourself because I had friends that lived there that spoke English also, but I just made sure they didn't speak English to me. I'm like, don't speak to me in English. Like just speak to me in Cantonese so I can learn this and get it. Because I knew this is my job. This is going to be my job. If I want to do it, I gotta do it well. I gotta learn it well. So I gotta put in the work.
That's what's up, perfecting your craft, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, like you said, not limiting yourself. Yeah, that's like certain guys in the game. Like, you can only play defense. Right. Yeah. I always find that weird. Or somebody's like, "Oh, he's a terrible free throw shooter." It's like you getting paid millions of dollars. Like you have time to work on that skill, right? That's all you have to do.
You can stand in your yard and shoot free throws like all day long. So why are you doing that? Like, why are you still 60% shooter? You know,
I can't do it, so I'm going to stay away from it.
And then I'll just work on my strengths only. But like, you know, we all know that like the strongest people are the ones that work on their weaknesses. You know,
you can only get so far doing it that way.
Yeah, exactly. I think nowadays with social media and the young kids now is like they get caught up in seeing stuff on like Instagram and stuff is like a finished, polished product. And they don't see like the work involved that it takes to get to that point, right? So everyone
12 years in the making.
and they think it's instant. So then they try something they're not good at and they just give up, right? Or they rely on raw talent and then don't work on the fundamentals to keep them in there, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sure it works in basketball. Like someone comes in that got raw talent, but they can't get the fundamentals down, right? And so over time, when they get older and stuff breaks down, they don't have something to fall back on. Right. Same thing with acting. I've seen it too with you know, great actors come in like new actors and they got this like energy and this vibe, but they don't learn the fundamentals of acting. So then a few years down the line, they have nothing to pull from. And then their career kind of takes a dive, you know.
I got you. Yeah. So you've been known to shoot multiple movies in a single calendar year. And sometimes doing multiple roles at the same time, like you're filming 2 movies at the same time. How is I'm gonna ask the second part of that. the two roles, how are you able to pull that off? Like being two different characters on two different scenes. Like because I understand shooting 5 movies is difficult in itself.
Right.
But shooting 2 different characters in 2 different movies
keep
has to be damn
stuff,
near impossible. Yeah.
It's hard. But it was it was a factor of like, okay, I'm hot now, I'm getting busy, people wanted me to work, so I gotta do these projects, right? And so like in the height, I would say for a good 5 years, I was doing 4 to 6 movies a year for like 5 or 6 years. That's how I got up to 70 movies in 20 years,
Quickly.
And then there was a period in the beginning where I overlapped like that. And after a while, I had to stop doing that because it was just too much. Like there was crazy things where like I'd work a 12-hour day on a movie and then the van would come to pick me up to take me to the other movie set. And I work another 12 hours there. So I worked 24 hours straight. But I was like 23 or 4 at the time, so I could take it, right? I can't do that now. There's no way.
Okay.
Like now I got a 12-hour turnaround in my contract, so I need rest. But it was hard. It was hard. It was like you felt like schizophrenic because you're playing one character here. And that was crazy because one movie I was like a gangster, a hard-ass gangster. And then the next movie I play like a college student, like a nerdy college student, right? So like to be able to keep on top of that shit was real difficult.
Polar opposites.
Yeah, completely. And so, and like I said, you'd be doing these double shifts sometimes. Or you would do like a few hours on one set, they pull you off to another set, and then you go back to that set, right? And that was crazy, like crazy stuff.
That's
So after a while, it was like told my manager, I was like, I can't do this no more. I was like, this is making me crazy. Like, I barely have time to sleep, and I'm not, I don't feel like I'm doing as best job I can because I'm like barely awake half the time, So I was able to do it, but it was hard. It was real hard,
Out there running like. I don't think there's enough espresso or whatever thing there's running around to keep you doing it that long. For like just keep doing that forever. Like, that's tough. But like you said, I'm saying you got to strike while you're hot.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So like you said, you were hot. Your name was out there. People wanted you. I can only imagine. Like you were doing that many movies, and Lord knows how many you turned down during that time.
Yeah,
I'm saying I'm pretty sure scripts was coming in left and right.
Yeah. It's a different thing now. I'm older now. I can't take that kind of schedule. I got a family, so now it's about picking and choosing. Because to me now, like working on a movie, you're stuck with these people for 3 to 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, it doesn't matter what happens with the movie, if it turns out well or does good in the box office. The most important thing to me is like you're spending time with these people for 4 or 5 months. It's like a family. So you got to want to spend the time with them, and you want to enjoy that experience and have good memories coming out of it. I think at this point in my life, like that's the most important thing to me. It's not necessarily about the end result, but it's more about the process.
Okay. Yeah. So being there, like, and you're able to include like some of your close friends and some of the work that you're doing. Like when you're directing, you write some of these things, you're able to include some of your close friends with that has to make the job that much enjoyable. And you guys want to be on scene and on camera together.
Yeah. Now that I've been able to become like a producer, a director, producing encompasses a whole nother, skill set of stuff, like helping to get the movie done. And that includes bringing, other actors to the thing. So like in Into the Badlands, I was able to bring my buddy Kung Lee to the show. He was one of the monks,
Okay.
And he was a UFC fighter and all that stuff. But I'd known him for like 20 something years, right? We grew up together in the martial arts world. So I was able to bring people like that in. It's just tremendously satisfying to be able to like have a hand in that, have some control. It's like, when you're a player, there's you can control your game and you can control what happens in the locker room, but in the higher executive level, you can't make those decisions. And then once you get to be like, in the office, the front office, then you can do all those things, like that.
Gotcha. All right. That's what's up, man. So let's talk about some fun shit, man. Let's talk about the martial arts aspect of it. Like, have you ever had to whoop somebody's ass in the street? Like, have you ever like somebody like tried you thinking you slim Asian guy, like I can take him, and you like fucking
people get surprised. That's the thing. When I was in college at University of Oregon, I was a bouncer in a bar, right?
Okay.
And I got brought on because the Taekwondo coach was like, "Hey, we need some help. Can you come over?" Right? And he was an Asian guy, small Asian guy. I was a skinny Asian guy, right? And there were football players on our squad. They were part of the bouncer crew, right? And nobody fuck with us. People fuck with the big guys, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, those guys are small and Asian. They must know some shit. So we're not gonna fuck with them. So they would send us over to like break up fights, or like, you know, if somebody was like being too touchy with a girl or whatever, they would send us over to go do that stuff, which made sense because as martial artists, you're trained, like, yeah, of course you're trained to be able to handle yourself, but you're also trained over time to try to avoid a fight.
Yeah,
you know, like
to diffuse the situation.
To diffuse that situation, right? And so our training in the martial arts helped with that. So we were able to like diffuse some of those situations. But you know, we got into it sometimes. You know,
you send a football player over there, damn it, you know what it's gonna be. Yeah, their first reaction is to fucking grab you.
Right. And also with the football players, like you insult them a little bit and they get hot and then they want to fight, right? And then
definitely off top.
Right. So you got to be able to control that and not get into that trouble. But you know, we got into it sometimes. You know, I got a bottle in the head before. It didn't break, but it hit my head. It got messy.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You can grab their motherfucking wrist and do this and do that, and they're like, hey man, okay, I stop.
Right.
You know, please let me go. Like
But you know, when you become a martial artist and you do get into it on the street, you're very careful because you can actually really hurt people bad, right? So especially if you get too hot into it, you can hurt people bad. So you kind of have to hold yourself back a little bit. And also we can be charged, like apparently black belts can be charged with assault with a deadly weapon.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
you're a walking weapon, man.
Yeah.
Like, so you're a walking Ginsu knife. Or,
you could get attacked, and then you're just defending yourself. But if you hurt that person, you might have to pay their hospital bills or be charged criminally. You know, so I'm careful.
That's the downfall. Yeah, you got to be. So are you big in to the like the UFC scene or boxing? Like, do you like
yeah?
Which one of them is your?
I love both. I love boxing. Yeah. I've been a boxing fan since I was a little kid.
Okay.
You know, my next door neighbor had HBO, so like all the HBO boxing, you know, it's all free when you're little, right? So we watched all the Tyson fights, even the tail end of Ali's career, Sugar Ray, you know, all that. And then now I'm a big like Canelo fan. I like Deontay Wilder. I like all that stuff, and then I like UFC as well. But to me, it's like very important to realize like that UFC is not all encompassing of martial art. It's one aspect of it. Like being a good fighter doesn't necessarily make you a good martial artist. Yeah. Because there's so much more to being a martial artist than just fighting, right? And so that's what people get mixed up with is they think, oh, you learn martial arts, you want to be the number one fighter in the world. But that's like a whole different game. Like you look at those dudes, and by the time they're 40, their body is just ruined. Like they can't even function anymore, and they have to quit training, you know. And my goal now is to be able to train until like I'm 60, 70, 80, you know. Gotcha. And so it's a different kind of mentality. I think the thing with MMA is like, it's a typical American thing that we do is like, we just want to take the best of everything, right? And make this thing and make a new thing, right? But the thing about like these ancient martial arts has been around for thousands of years is like, there's a system there that's designed for you to be able to practice from young all the way into old, right? And there's a reason why you go through this whole system and not jump all these steps or just cherry pick all the best things out of it and make something your own.
Gotcha.
So I'm now like, I did that too in my youth when I was in my 20s. Like I wanted to learn about other martial arts and do all that stuff. But now I'm going back to the old school stuff and kind of examining like how that stuff could help me be functional and keeping mobile in my older age, you know, like that's a huge thing. That's why I want to ask you that, right? Like playing 15 years in the league, that's like a long time. Like, how did you keep your body up? Because that's all I'm focusing now is like just keeping my body up.
I did, man. I had major surgeries. Like I broke down because it's just my style of play.
You played hard.
Just hard. No holds bars. Just go balls to the wall all the time.
Right.
And just the pounding and I had microfracture surgery on both of my knees. Had my patella repaired in my left knee. So I could have used some different things stretching wise or different things going on during my career, which no one presented to me, and I didn't have the wherewithal to look into like nothing else. You know what I'm saying?
Seems like all that like sports medicine stuff was more like in the last 10 years where people really knew how to like take care of themselves and do what kind of, you know, strength conditioning and all that stuff helps you for gameplay and all that. Yeah.
Even just doing something like yoga, you know what I'm saying? Even doing something as simple as yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody ever tell me like maybe you should try yoga, man, and loosen your limbs up. You can elongate this and do it. Like I didn't learn all these till I'm on the back half of, like you said, within the last 2 years. Like I'm on my way out.
Right.
And now y'all taking care of people. Like now y'all managing people workload and all this other shit. I'm like,
there was none of that workload management back in the 80s and 90s. Yeah,
not at all. They would just go. Like, hey, they go until we say stop. And we had the mentality that I know I did. And a lot of guys I played with, like we just hoop and
just man up.
Yeah. Like no matter how we feeling, it could be the 7th game in 10 nights, and we're gonna muster something up to go out and try to give it our all.
Right.
And putting our bodies through hell in the meantime. And all they doing is feeding us anti-inflammatories and ice and stem and think that's fucking helping.
Right. That is only dealing with the issue, but not with the root cause of the issue, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I learned all that. Like I said, I learned all that to the last 2-3 years that I was in, and me playing like low minutes at the time was I could deal. Now I needed this when I was playing 35, 36, 37 minutes a night.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's when I needed it.
Yeah. So do you have any pains and aches now?
Yeah, actually, man. Like when I got done, like 2 years after I retired, I had to get my wrist worked on.
I
had arthritis in my wrist. My shoulder, as we speak, I'm pretty sure there's some damage in there I need to get done. And recently I've been having hip pain. Yeah, so it's definitely catching up. I'm feeling certain things now that I've slowed down, and all I do is ride the bike now. I'm stationary mostly. I try to stay active in that way, and ride the bike, do abs, and might lift weights here and there. But try to stay active in that way. But I'm starting to feel the effects of it.
You should get into the yoga, seriously.
Yeah, I'm gonna try something, man. Like my
for the hips and all that, it'll help with all the hips and stuff. I had tight hips and lower back. Actually, it was lower back pain that I realized was all because of my quads and my hips were taking a lot of strain, and it was pulling on my lower back. And once I dealt with that with yoga, like it relieved my back big time.
I have to do something. Because it's that too. Like that's like my back, because it comes and goes. It's like that's the least of it. Mm-hmm. Like my shoulder is constant. Like lately, like my hip has been. Like my wife, like, what's wrong? She see me stretching all the time now. Like, you good? I'm like, that hip bothering me. And
especially when you've been sitting for a while and then you have to stand up. That one stand up, like, yeah. I feel
right now, she got this low ass bed that we got, and me getting about it. I'm like, that fucking bed on the floor, man. Like, she's like, well, you just old. I was lying down the damn bed on the floor, like, and I'm 6'9", like it hurt.
Yeah. That's why I finally realized now why my dad's bed is like this high off the ground. It's like 4 feet off the ground, because it's just easier to just slide in, slide out.
You know what I'm saying? You got to have it waist high. You got. Well, you ain't no effort involved of getting in and out of the bed. That should be the least of your concerns, man.
Yeah. And the low bed is terrible for your shins at night when you go and take a pee. Kick that shit.
I'm saying, and do it, and that lead to cussing. And she's like, "What's wrong?" You know what it is. I got to keep telling you. Shit hurt.
Yeah, feel you.
Yeah, man. It's life, things you go through, man. But no, my career was cool. It was full of fun, but like I said, it was partly interrupted by injury. You know what I'm saying? You
got a little bit into the Xinjiang thing, but what was it? I never even been there. Like that's so far west in China. Like people don't go out there, right? So what was it like out there?
I know why. Don't nobody go out there. It's far.
It's a desert. Yeah, it's literally like
the most inland city in the world. It's the furthest city from any body of water is what they told me.
Yeah, but that's where the Silk Road came through. You know.
Yeah. The road came through. It's freezing. Absolutely free. Like it went from like okay outside.
Like
they bought me a bunch of gear, right? Like so I thought it was a bunch of basketball stuff that they was dropping off. I'm popping the boxes open and all that. It's fucking winter coats, and I'm like, now, like it's still nice outside. They like, oh no, you're gonna need it. I didn't know they meant like 3 days. Like it was
Could have turned bad.
Yeah, but yeah, then all our trips were like we had the longest trips of any team because we had to
Fly
to
from so far, right?
Yeah, like that was 3 hours there, and then another you have to either change planes or get on a boat. I mean a bus. I'm saying to go to where we was going to. Yeah,
Right.
so it was brutal at times, but it was definitely a good experience. For my oldest 3 kids got to come out there.
Oh, cool.
Visit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was dope for them to be
The one that's in the NBA now.
Yeah. I'm saying KJ. Cool. So I have KJ's 19. I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Okay.
So they got to come out and visit. Got to go to the Great Wall and all that. So that was
great.
Cool.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, the experience of living in a different country. I wasn't there a long time, but the time that I was there, it was cool.
Could you handle the food?
Actually, I was spoiled. Listen, I had put I was 10 years in my NBA career.
Right.
So I was a spoiled NBA player at the time.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
So I had a chef that they found it was an Italian restaurant that was out there. Right. So we was able to hire him to make my meals as well.
Nice.
So So I was spoiled. Like,
right.
So every morning I had breakfast and lunch, and then when I would travel, I took my food with me. So he would prepare me food, chicken, steak, vegetables, and potatoes, like baked potatoes. So he'll cook that when I went on the road. I have my cooler with me everywhere, so I kept it on dry ice.
Right.
So I had my translator when we got to the hotel. He'll go down there to the front desk, explain to them we need the food warmed up and whatever they need to do, and they'll go down there and do it.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I tried some buffets and things like that. Everywhere's a buffet.
Yes. Yeah.
Everywhere is a buffet. So we went there. I went to a few buffets. Saw some things at some of the stations that was like
questionable.
No, it wasn't just the name they had on it. I was like, yeah, they ain't shy at all. Y'all just gonna dog meat soup. I was like, yeah, I'm fucking definitely in China.
Yeah, not doing that. Yeah, somebody tried to.
But it was the experience of seeing it. Like, you hear things like that, but you can't imagine that you go into a restaurant and it's
on the menu.
There, it's there. So, like, it was like, wow, like people, like they
Did you drink any of that white rice wine, that clear wine?
Brutal.
Bro, crazy.
That shit is brutal.
After a while, I had to pretend like I didn't drink alcohol anymore because like it fucked me up, like real bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal, man.
The good thing about it is you don't get a hangover because there's so much alcohol, it just kind of evaporates out of your system. Yeah. But it's hardcore, man. I got some of my worst drunks on that stuff.
Yeah, and then like there's no I'm from the States, so you ask me if I want to drink, I'll tell you like, yeah, on the rock. So let me get some ice in that. Now everything's a shot with that.
Right.
Like, I had Batir, he played for the Spurs.
Oh, that's yeah.
So he was on my team. So come on, Ken, let me take you out on the town. Let's go out. Me and my friends, we go to, man, they got everything imaginable on the table. Like they got the big table where it spins.
Oh, yeah,
so they spinning the table.
Yeah.
So much food, and they just taking shots of this shit, man. I'm like, oh. After the second shot, I was like, man, I don't want no more of that. Like, so then I try to order something else, and they bring me a different kind. I'm like, and they bring me a beer because I told them I wanted something. I'm like, yeah. So I dropped like
you should have just asked for like Henny or something. They drink Henny too.
Yeah, but it's just they just taking shots. Like I don't want.
That's true. Everybody goes hard there. Everybody goes hard there. It's just like, just take it down. It's like
one after another, and they just lining them up. And I'm like, oh man. So I ain't like that. We was in the hotel, like where this place was. We was in the hotel. I didn't even go back to my house. I told them I need a room here. Got me a room. I slept it off. I was hurting. I can't go nowhere, man. Like not right now. Like this is bad. Like,
I feel you. I've been in those situations. Did they make you sing karaoke?
Yeah, of course. We was ended up having a blast. After drinking that, listen, you ain't got anything goes after that, man. You drinking, I'm singing karaoke, all kind of songs, stuff. They putting some Chinese stuff. I'm trying to read that. I was on
that shit into the mic, right?
Yeah, definitely. I was on, man. So it was definitely having a blast, man. But like I said, just the culture and everything that came along with it was great.
Like, yeah, I'm asking because I think I mentioned this to you before. I'm writing a movie about an NBA journeyman who goes to play in China, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to me to hear all these stories about all that stuff. I talked to Maurice Spates about his time there. He's like, I had to carry my own uniform everywhere. Like, I had to wash my own uniform.
Like spoiled NBA guys, man. Like, see, like I had it made when I was, because I couldn't put a pair of socks in the dirty clothes hamper without them coming to take it and wash it.
Right.
Like the owner, like I stayed in the owner's old house.
Oh, dang.
They was using it as a conference. Like they was having conferences and meeting and stuff downstairs. So I had the top floor basically.
Oh, dang.
And they said like it was separate from everything else. Like they built a room. They built rooms in there for me and the guy that was working for me. They built those rooms. They built the bathroom up. Like they took care of me. Like they really looked out when I was there. But like like my laundry, I never had to worry about anything. But like you said, carrying your own uniforms and all that was new to us. But
yeah.
All my stuff was always clean, washed, folded, like everything was taken care of. So I didn't all I had to do was put it in my bag. So I can only imagine if they other places they ain't got the same kind of treatment. I can only imagine their experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sounds like you had the good VIP experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, everybody's experience there is different. You know what I'm saying? Certain guys, like when we was out there, like J.R. Smith out there, he was out there the same time as I was out there. And I'm pretty sure his experience, if you ask him his experience, it was way different than mine.
Right.
Yeah, like, so now we all went out there, man, but like I said, it was for me being out there, like to live in a different country. And definitely great experience. Like definitely.
You didn't play anywhere else outside the U.S., did you?
No, that was it.
It's just China.
That's the only place. Yeah, that's the only place I ventured out, other than like USA basketball and things like that. Like nothing other than that.
Cool.
Yeah, man. But it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure having you on Neat Unfiltered. Like the conversation. We'd love to have you back on, man, so we can talk further.
I love it.
And folks, trust me, if you haven't looked up Daniel, please look him up, man. Great actor. Like I said, one of my favorite shows, Into the Badlands. Look that up. You won't be not entertained. Trust me. It'll be worth your binge watching. But my hats off to you, Daniel. Keep up the good work, man. Stay safe out here. And
thanks for having me on.
Talk soon,
I love
friend.
it. Thank you so much.
Sir.